Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here doing the same thing I've been doing ever since we started the show, trying to make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA, and the USA with the plight of veterans. Today I'm here again with one of our life members, one of the life members of Vietnam Veterans of America and a son of Atlanta that's been advocate, been a trailblazer in our community, helping veterans get their benefits ever since I've known him. And you know that's been a few years, ain't it, right?
Yeah, long few years.
Long few years. Because we come out of basically the same hood. And you know, the time has come when Sons of Atlanta, this is where all of it started, when we started getting the rights that we deserve. When the democracy really started, it came from our hometown, Rock.
Yeah.
You know, we did this. We finna do this again. Because during that period, when Martin and Julian Barnes and all of them was trying to explain why we shouldn't be fighting the war, people misunderstood it. But they kind of got a glimpse of it when we started coming back from the war, Rock, and with all kind of different problems, and the VA wasn't paying attention to us. You know, they just wasn't paying attention. See, and you got to see it probably closer than me because you was working for the Department of Labor trying to help veterans,
right?
You know, with jobs and stuff that they didn't want to do. You know, so just introduce yourself. Then I want you to talk about your book too, Rock, because I talk about it a lot. You know.
Okay.
Right. Introduce yourself, bro.
All right. Well, my name is Morocco Coleman. I'm a native Atlantan, as Elson says. You know, we came out of the same area of Atlanta, and Vietnam combat vet, and I was fighting. In fact, I was fighting since back in 1970 when I got out of the military. ETS, got out at Fort McPherson, Georgia, and shortly after I started filing for disability, and I kept getting turned down because I really didn't know what I was doing. And over the years, I met a representative that helped me get a claim of 20%. And then over the years, I added a little here and there. And then eventually I got a job with the Georgia Department of Labor Office of Veterans Programs and started working with veterans, helping them with benefits, homelessness, drugs, alcohol, the whole 9 yards. And so once I was in-house, I learned how the VA works and learned their system. And I've been retired now 24 years, and I'm still helping veterans as an advocate to get benefits and anything else that is in my purview. And if I don't have the purview, I'll find it. And so Elson started a grounds root swell many years ago with a chapter of Vietnam, starting the chapter of Vietnam Vets of America. And I came on board with him, and Elson's been in the fight all of these many years and a true advocate for veterans. And so we support each other throughout the years, and I'm right here with him to carry on this mission.
And you know, the thing about it, Rock, we've both been pushing our governments, you know, to look at what veterans bring and do in our community, because every graduation year, I don't think we recognize it, but every graduation year coming from Washington High, Turner, the schools that we came out of, still going into the U.S. military. Mm-hmm. You know, we got young people right now coming out of our community serving in the U.S. military, and unfortunately, we got a government. We don't have a government. Let me correct this. We got some people in our government that just don't want to recognize that we are the great melting pot, Rob. That we are the great melting pot. And what they don't want to recognize too is some of them don't, that our era, us Vietnam veterans, actually was the first generation that was operating in a fully integrated military.
Exactly.
In a wartime, in a war. And that was a very kind of crazy era because in our city, now I can remember guys that I knew that was going to Howard and going to Price and Archie, you know, that I just saw when we was having games and football games and basketball games. all of us got drafted at the same time.
Yeah.
All of us. I mean, so that meant from all of these schools, we had people going into the military, doing segregation into an unpopular war. It was so unpopular that, you know, even these guys that wasn't going to Vietnam, it wasn't safe for them to come off the base in the uniform. That was just how unpopular the war that we was fighting. And I don't think that until 2012, when Barack Obama became president of the United States, he signed in a proclamation establishing the 50th year commemoration of the Vietnam War, where everybody started thanking us for our service. When they really didn't understand the service, but it was a good start for us coming together, because in spite of the hypocrisy, it brought a lot of us, because I remember me and you, Rock, going throughout the state and places helping the governor, Deal, and all the other governors give out the certificates of honor.
Exactly.
And it was a good feeling.
Yeah.
It was a good feeling, but deep down we knew that it was just a feeling that wasn't giving the benefits that we earned, that we deserve. Because in your book, you not only did you introduce Agent Orange, you also introduced PTSD. And I came back in my book and kind of reinforced it, because, you know, I think all of us had an experience that we need to share with our community. And the only way we're going to do it is through books and articles. Because if we look past, and we better look at this generation too, because I'm seeing these movies and all these things, I don't see no heroes that look like me, and I know better.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? So why don't you talk about your experience with some of this, Rock? Because, you know, we came in, and you was coming out of college, so it was a different kind of draft for you. You was a little bit more mature than some of the guys that was drafted right out of high school. But you was able to engage this integration that was taking place in the military that wasn't outside of the bases. It was still segregation.
Right.
Still law of the land. What kind of things that you can remember out of this era during your service experience?
Well, one of the first and the most poignant one was about 2 days before I was leaving, going to Vietnam. I went downtown with my female cousin, my brother, and one other individual, and we went down Peachtree Street, and there was a club there. And we were going to a number of different clubs, so this is the first one we got to. And we were going to celebrate because getting ready to go to Vietnam.
Going to go to war.
Don't know if I'm coming back or not, so I'm gonna live it up. And we went in this club, and my cousin and I danced, and then and we were the only blacks there, and I ended up dancing with a white girl. Now, a white guy came up and danced with my female cousin, and so I asked the white girl to dance. And so I was getting down, man, having great fun and big time and everything. And then all of a sudden, one of the guys came up, man, with a suit on, and told me that, look, I need to tell you, you can't dance with that girl. And I said, why? What's wrong with her? And he said, well, you know, you just can't dance with her. So he was intimating that because of our different races, you know, I couldn't dance with her. And man, I went off. Yeah. And at the same time, considering where I'm getting ready to go here in a matter of hours, and so I went off, and then I said, I need to see the manager. And he came back and he says, all right, come on. So he takes me in the back, and we got to the back, and then he says, got to go up these steps. I looked up, and standing up at the top of the steps was three other guys. And they were all standing there all bulked up and everything, had on suits that were too small for them. And I realized now that I've walked back into the archives of this place, back in the back, you know, where you see the cement brick walls and everything. And I realized that I put myself in a tenuous situation. So I saw a mop bucket, and the mop bucket had one of those squeegee things, that handle that comes out. Yeah. So I picked that up, and I went up the steps to see what the manager wanted to talk about, you know. And so we got the hooking up in there, and I got on out of there. But that was my introduction to Vietnam. on the way to Vietnam, and the racism. That was one of the most poignant examples before going to Vietnam. But like growing up, man, our Lenox Square was Hunter Street and Auburn Avenue,
Exactly.
where the community had everything that you could want, and so we weren't really touched by racism as such, and we grew up in a village. And so this was a glaring example of overt racism right before I went to Vietnam.
And Rob, what I've observed since we going to Vietnam and going into the military, we had our generation had that was opening up stuff that America was not really ready for at all. I can remember I had got promoted to the 12th grade, going to the 12th grade, and I was approached by the railroad. Give me a job. Just came out of the blue at Washington High School, and get a job.
And that was paying big money back then.
That was the opening of the economic prosperity for us, right? And we was going into the railroad, General Motors, the post office, all of the jobs that our parents was barred from.
AT&T was another one.
AT&T.
Yep.
And the thing about it, I was so. And then I noticed that at the railroad, not only was I there, I had people from Carver High School, from Turner High School, and you know what? All of them was drafted. All of us.
You got the offer for the job, and then turned right around and got drafted.
Got drafted off of these jobs. All of us was drafted and went into the military. And the irony of it is, and that's why the Sons of Atlanta will probably come in the fold. All of us was drafted and went into the military, but a lot of us didn't come back home.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, over 240 young men that was our peers that went into the military during this period didn't come back home. And the irony of it all, at this time now, I want people to go to our website, sonsofAtlanta.org, and I want you to look at the 240 soldiers. I want you to look at the pictures and look at their profiles. Most of these young people died, were killed in war before they were 21 years old. And at the time, Rob, I don't know whether you remember this, at the time we couldn't vote. We had to be 21 to vote. You were caught up in this thing where now we got to come defend the country, right? And that was rightfully becoming our country. But the politics of the day, that some of the leaders of the day didn't want this to happen. Didn't want it to happen. We see the struggle and the irony and the hypocrisy of it all. When you look at these young men, when after that war they changed the law, you can vote at 18 now. And what I want to say this right now, because of the threat on the democracy that these our homeboys died for. This threat on this democracy that we died for, that we do something that I don't think anybody else is doing right now, that we go into all of the senior citizens communities throughout the country where you got veterans and
in the communities with the projects.
That's what we used to do.
We could go and catch the little old ladies when they would come in the evenings from the jobs out there in Buckhead, and everybody would be down in the meeting room. And you could go in there and speak to the groups of individuals to let them know what's going on. But something else you touched on too, that railroad job, you had to leave it and go to war. Now, one of the advantages, and I'm believing that it's still in place now for veterans that are coming, for soldiers that are coming back now, and get that job back, and he must be given all the pay raises that his peers got as if he had been there going up the ladder, and all promotions and everything else. So for new veterans coming back, look into the USERA, USSERA law that will possibly put you back into a job that you had before you left. It depends on the type of job, government, federal, state, county, city, and some that don't fall in that category, but you can always ask the question to make sure.
Yes, and that's critical, and that's what we're saying with the Sons of Atlanta. And we want people to know right now that the city of Atlanta is about to put out the bid to select the vendor that's going to build a memorial in Piedmont Park. So we're going to look past that now and start looking into the memorializing experience that we're going to put into the community centers and libraries throughout our home county to make sure that every generation after us will know better.
Yeah, definitely.
Every generation after, and we're going to equip them with how to the resources that's already available in our community to the community, so that they can address the issues in our community. Right now, some of the most pressing issues in our community is the voting apparatus right now. So we're going to make sure, starting in March of this year, we're having a community town hall meeting in March, the 7th, matter of fact. And what we're going to be doing at that meeting is updating everybody in the community about the Sons of Atlanta project, so we can get all of these other cities that these guys came from together, because these are like little cities, Hatesville, East Point, College Park. We're all considered Sons of Atlanta because all those went into the military from the same place on Ponce de Leon.
Exactly.
You know, all of us.
The old Sears.
Old Sears building. Got down there, bro. You wasn't going back home unless you ate some soap or something.
ran that blood pressure up.
And I seen a lot of my buddies doing that, man.
Or some that had the panties and bras on. Anything to get out.
Anything to get out.
And some of it worked too.
Some of it worked. But the truth of the matter is, with these 240 left and went, but they were Sons of Atlanta. They had the same aspirations and desires for the cities and our communities that we have today, Rob. Just imagine if they'd have came back and went to work in the community. It would have been a better community. We would have been able to say, look around us and let's face this one fact, that we are all God's creations. And like we learned, one thing that we need to teach our community, that we learned in the military during that segregation, we learned how to live together.
Yep.
We learn how to respect each other. We learn how to accept each other. And we learn how we could learn together and serve together for a common cause. And I'm going to tell you something. We made some bonds that's strong, that we still got these connections with today. Unfortunately, while we was doing that, these children of the slave masters, they were still upset about the Civil War. And we kind of took it for granted because things started getting better for us in America, because we started seeing all of these different races coming together and doing stuff together in the community, and these people coming from all over the world here. And building the way government is operating right now is a throwback to people that want to throw it back to pride what it used to be.
Yep.
They make America great again. America has never been greater than it is now.
Yeah.
Never.
Yes.
Look at the U.S. military. It is the most diverse, integrated, culturally mixed community in our society, and it is the best kept. It is the most effective. These young people work together better than anybody you could ever see in our U.S. military, making us to have the best military on planet Earth today. And we should let people know we are better together. And we got to start making people think that we got to be in competition with each other, because there is enough resources for everybody. We can get these 2%ers, give us some of that money that they done hoard over the years, that all these billionaires that Donald Trump, I'm going to just say this here, took 6 billionaires into government with him in his cabinet. And all of those billionaires, except the lady that was over education, had a relationship with Russia before they got in the government. So we shouldn't be surprised today that you see all of these people on the right standing up with Russia. Because Donald Trump Jr. told us why. We don't need no money from America. We get all the money we need from Russia. We need to make sure that our community know and every community that got any sense of America know that we gonna still grow this multicultural society, democracy. And we're not gonna have people, so we're gonna go into senior citizens to make sure that they vote, which is a very large block of voters that might not vote because of their age, their conditions, and the way they're doing absentee ballots.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to go into these community centers and make sure that this block vote, and we got to make them understand that don't worry about people saying you're too old. Right now, you're too old to stop.
Yeah, you're too old. You're too old not to vote.
Too old not to vote. Yeah. You know, and we need to make sure that they got the capacity to vote. If you can't go, we're gonna get you an absentee ballot. If you can go, we're gonna get you a ride there and back.
Exactly.
We might not be able to stand in the line with you, but we'll be across the street waiting on you.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So we got to let them know that the spirit that we serve with a spirit where, even in Vietnam, we was. I can remember when I first got the Vietnam. The first record I heard was James Brown, "I'm Black and I'm Proud," and we was dancing in the wall. We was having fun in the wall, bro.
Yep.
We took an attitude of service that I had never seen before, so I had no fear when I got there. I only got fear when they started shooting at me in the morning. I said, "Oh wait, this is a real wall. This is
a real thing.
It's a real thing." We have to take this to our community. And that's what I'm so glad that we are the sons of Atlanta. And that we have been to government. You know, Rock, you've been on the City Commission for Veteran Affairs. Now we're sitting on the County Commission for Veteran Affairs. And we see, we are engaging these politicians.
Yeah.
We're engaging them. We're talking about this experience. And they are listening.
Yes.
What we got to make sure now that those veterans, especially in our generation that done been dogged out so long, they just say, "I don't want to hear that, man. They ain't gonna do nothing for us." The PAC Act is absolute proof, right? That they're ready to do so.
They say this is the most comprehensive passage of benefits for veterans in the last 50 years.
In the history, in the entire history of the VA.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something, Rob. Hypertension. I don't know nobody that look like me and you that ain't got hypertension.
It doesn't have it. Yeah.
Now what a lot of them been saying, man, they ain't doing nothing but just giving us a disability. They rolling it into the combined rating. That's the next demon that we got to go at the VA. That combined rating. When they combine all of your disabilities together, and when you're 100%, they got you at 80%.
And they use a mathematical formula, and in most cases, they're the only one that knows how the formula goes. You can look at the combined rating table and still be confused, and you're looking right at it.
I look at it and be confused all the time. Right?
Yeah.
So I just write what I'm thinking it is, because what I'm finding out that most of these raters don't know what they're doing.
No, that's another thing I'm seeing too. Now, in helping veterans like I do, a lot of information or a lot of things that I have to confirm or direct people to is a 800 number, 1-800-827-1000. 1-800-827-1000. You can call that number and they'll ask you, a recording says if you're calling about your last check, hit this button. If you're calling about benefits, hit this button, and just listen to what sounds like what you're looking for, and then hit that button and you will get a national service officer at 13 centers, or either 13 centers around the country. And that number is going to roll over to the first person that's available. It might be Chitlin Switch, Arkansas, or it might be New York or Philadelphia. But when you get that rep on the line, you can talk to them about anything, and if they don't have the answer, they transfer you to the person that does. Now, in the old days, 20 years back, you could call that number and you could get a national rep, and they would bend over backwards to let you know where your claim is. They would tell you it's sitting on somebody's desk and it's getting ready to move here or move there. And there have been times when I called to see if I had won my benefits, and they said, "Well, I can't tell you anything, but I would like to tell you that make sure you check your mailbox this week. Something might show up. And they would bend over backwards to assist you and to give you insight and knowledge. Now when I call on behalf of veterans, they give you just tertiary information. They don't bend over backwards. And now I've started to kind of question them a little more, and I'm finding that what they're probably doing is hiring, because it's always been a thing of not having enough reps. Mm-hmm. So I think what they've done is they've hired a bunch of new reps, but they trained them with just enough information to know
to do a call center.
Yeah, and to hold on to their job, mm-hmm. and not give them the full realm of knowledge that they're going to need to truly assist veterans in need. And I'm finding that they don't have enough information.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're so right, Rob, because the way they're doing this now, and we need to make sure that people understand this. This is why I keep saying it. VA has shifted to online.
Yeah.
I went online right at the VA site and printed all of this information about the expansion of the PAC Act. I went right online because I knew if I call at 818, I might get somebody that have some knowledge, and I might get somebody that rude because they don't have any knowledge.
Right.
And that makes it harder for the veteran to believe that he got something coming after being dogged out so long. Someone's man, well, they ain't gonna do nothing. I call that number and they don't do it. But it's all online. You can go on the VA website, va.gov, and I do it. That's why I do a lot of printing, because I can't get the information I want from this 1-800 number anymore. Even though they got all these call centers. And I'm gonna tell you something else too that happened during the Trump administration. They learned that most federal employees look like me.
Yeah.
So they don't have any problem with shutting down the government. Mm-hmm. Not filling jobs in government, like over 50,000 vacancies at the VA right now. But Biden hadn't had the capacity to refill them, because a lot of people after COVID learned how to survive without these underpaying government jobs. Mm-hmm. Underpaying. Now that we got some hope in politics that we're gonna be able to raise the income for workers, and that's happening. We've seen it happen in 26 states. Mm-hmm. Georgia wasn't one of them though, but they got minimum wages up to $16 an hour in 26 states. But that left 24 states that ain't got minimum wages. Like got minimum wages like Georgia, $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
So that means that the average McDonald's worker is making 10 something.
Yeah.
That can't pay no rent.
Yeah.
That don't pay no rent.
Especially in Atlanta.
In Atlanta. I forgot Tony Hill, man. My other partner in crime. This is Tony. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
See, me and Rock got off on this, and then we want you to call in. And
hey, Tony.
We want you to be able to call in at 470-215-4343 if you want to talk with Rock and confront us. Actually about the questions, because what we do, we've been doing. And we're going to continue to do it because we're the sons of Atlanta. We come back to Atlanta to bring them benefits home.
Right.
We come back to do that. And we're not going to stop doing it. Now that we got this expansion of the PAC Act, 129 locations that they missed when they started. Oh, man, they're finna do it now. What we need, all of those people, especially those people that might have loved ones that have passed, died, because of prostate cancers, all the cancers that's on the Agent Orange list.
Heart conditions.
The family, especially if it's a surviving spouse, can still get benefits.
Sure.
And we want you to know that, so we're going to help you do that. We ain't just telling you that. We're going to help you work that. And next year, you ain't going to have to be looking for that kind of help, because we're going to have it in every community center in Fulton County. Where you're going to be able to just go to the community center in your neighborhood, and there will be somebody there to help you get the benefits that's there for you, that's already yours. See, and with this PAC Act, now I want people to understand, the PAC Act set up presumptions, that if you was at one of these locations, like we was in Vietnam, my heart condition, they didn't even question that it being service related. They might have not did the rating right, but they didn't question whether it was service related.
Right.
It was a presumption. It was presumed. All of these disabilities now, because the PAC Act is being pursued, we need to make sure that every veteran household in Fulton County know about this.
Yeah, they used to say, you know, if you've got a heart condition, they would say, oh, well, this runs in your family, so that's where it came from. But now with the presumption, it means presumption comes from that you get the word presumed. So it's presumed that it came from, if you served in Vietnam, you were exposed to Agent Orange. You breathed the air, you drank the water, you ate the food, you were exposed. Now, how little or how much, they don't know. All they got to do is say, you were there, you got one of these presumptive conditions, that's where it came from. It's automatic.
No question asked.
And then, under the PAC Act, and you touched on this about the hypertension. All of these years, going back to the 70s, as far as I know, they were turning down us Vietnam veterans for hypertension. And I presumption that it was because we are predisposed to the pork or our DNA and our diet and everything, or handed down through generations. And I believe that was one of the main reasons that they weren't given hypertension, because it would affect so many minority veterans. But now they're having to admit under the PACT Act that some of your medications from the VA can cause hypertension. PTSD causes hypertension. Ischemic heart disease, which means pacemaker, defibrillator, irregular heartbeat, arrhythmia, almost anything wrong with the heart, Agent Orange affected it and caused it. And so any of those heart conditions cause hypertension. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension.
Parkinson, dementia.
Yeah.
You know, all of these things that we're looking at in our community now, diabetes. On every corner, and listen, I'm going to tell you something, Rock, that I noticed when my mom and my sister started, they had to go on dialysis. They got dialysis clinics almost on every corner in the community now. You know, and I mean, these are service-connected disabilities. And I'm going to tell you something. You got to understand how this process works. Some of the wives need to understand this. That if they've been married to a Vietnam veteran for a long time and they contract some of these conditions, they got it from their husband.
Yep.
And they're service connectable. We need. That's why we having this show. That's why I was glad to ask Rock to come on, because I know what he's been doing in the community, being a voice for this. Because you know that I've been out there. We've been
out there together.
We've been out there together, being a voice, trying to wake some of the veterans up. Now we know that a lot of these guys done died, man, from prostate cancers, from diabetes, neuropathy, and all this stuff, and the family ain't got nothing. You can get it now. It's here. The truth is on the table. We got to make sure that everybody in the community knows about this act. And you get with a VSO, a Veteran Service Organization, or a veteran advocate. Now, me and Rock are both of them, a veteran advocate, and we're a VSO. We're members of Vietnam Veterans of America. This is the organization we worked out of, and this is the organization we push to make sure that Congress does this kind of stuff.
Now, and don't leave out the part, man, of you working in that system back in the VA days. You were right there with them, where they got to give you everything. I was with the state.
Yeah, I was right there in the VA and watched them do so much. They medically retired me. They said, you got to go. I forgot about that part.
Made it totally permanent. Please take 100%. Everything is gold. Don't bother us no more.
We don't need you no more. And it all came because I was trying to make sure that the veterans got what they had coming.
Yeah. And now that we're gone, it's like in the military, they didn't deprogram us, man. Yeah. When they brought me, they looked up one day and said, Rock, get your stuff. Why? You going home? Oh, man. And I grabbed my stuff. Now, before I went over there, they taught me the spirit of the bayonet is to kill, and all this stuff, man, preparing me for Vietnam and war and everything. And now that my time is up and they can't use me no more, or either I got a disability, it's like, get him on out of here, send him home. All right, so now I'm home, but they didn't deprogram me, man, so I'm still full metal jacket.
Full metal jacket.
And from the jobs that we had with the government, we came out of there programmed, and we got to give it back to the community.
And see, Ron, I'm so glad you brought that subject up, because see, recently we've been working with this county. We got the county to fund some care in the community, and we just got through going through a veteran suicide prevention program. And what we learned in that program, you know, about suicides, you know, a lot of times veterans make you kill them. That's suicide.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you remember the case of Jenkins over there on Rice Street back in the day, where he was shooting up in the air. He had done left the VA. Told Dr. Gonzalez he was going to do that. Dr. Gonzalez didn't believe him, didn't put him in the hospital, went home, made Fulton County come out there and put us house with bullets, fill him with bullets.
Man, I went there. That house, man, you look at the front of that house, man, you almost couldn't find a solid area in the front of the house, man. It looked like Swiss cheese, man. Everybody, you know, was there that night, and everybody got a chance to open fire.
Yeah. See, and those are the kind of things we talk about PTSD. And you're not, but then there's another animal that's PTSD, close to PTSD, that they're not giving enough credit to, that young veterans. I've seen them coming out and working on cases now that have a adjustment disorder, right? They have a hard time readjusting to coming out of the military back into society, so it gets really confusing for them. They're killing themselves.
Yeah.
Tony, you had something to say about
Yes.
that. You was
That's one of the points that I've been making. The fact that the military did an excellent job preparing us for war.
Right.
But when our service was over, they did absolutely nothing to prepare us to move back in the community. So I'm glad to see that part of this PAC Act is taking care of assumptive things. Some of the things that veterans are suffering from was a result of not being prepared to move back into the community.
Exactly.
And so that's a critical part of all the challenges that the veterans are dealing with.
And that's what gives us the power to make the resources go to where they can make
Exactly.
a difference. And we got to make sure that that transition from the military, and you know, these young people that's coming home now, they're coming out we just had these young people killed recently. They're all on hazardous duty in these foreign countries because of the way these billionaires are manipulating the economies. And so they use the military, which they should. We represent our interests, and that's all over the world. We got young people serving now. I want to salute them and encourage them to keep on keeping on, because this is our country. We're going to make it what it's supposed to be. We're not just going to come home and melt back into the framework of the community, and the community is not profiting from our service. It should grow from our service. And we're going to make sure it grows from our service. And one of the things that we got to make sure that people understand, these benefits are extended to the family of servants, of veterans. You know, especially if you die from a service-related condition, your surviving spouse or your mother can get benefits.
And they literally become the veteran.
They become the veteran. They literally become the veteran. And I think that's something that we got to make sure that the community understand, because a lot of times, Rob, when the veterans die, that it's over with for that family.
Exactly.
They don't know anybody.
Exactly.
They don't have a clue. Even though they done lost that breadwinner, that person that was taking care of them, now they ain't got nothing. You know, they might have a little Social Security, but that's not enough to pay the water bill. You know, so I'm so thankful that we are here where we're at as the Sons of Atlanta. I'm hoping what we're doing as the Sons of Atlanta will become the Sons of Decatur, the Sons of all over the country. Because see, when I go to Washington, when I first went to D.C. and went to the wall, I was so overwhelmed because I know so many names on there, Rob.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. I broke down like a little baby, you know, because it was just too much to grasp. But then when Barbara called me, when they was dedicating Lewis' name up there at the Memorial Garden in Slappy, Florida, I was able to kind of handle it because this was one of my best friends. You know, we went to Washington High together. We walked to school together. We kind of hung out together, and I was honoring him, and I felt well doing it because I was there with his sister. his only sister.
Right.
You know, so it dawned on me then that this thing is got to be made local. You know, our sacrifices in the military got to be made local to the towns and communities where we come from. Otherwise, the appreciation from your service is never really realized in the community where you come from, and that's where the sacrifice has been made. Your family sacrificed you. You know, your family sacrificed you to the military. They gave you over to the military proudly. Listen, I can remember coming home. My sisters wouldn't let me be late going back to.
I don't want you to be AWOL. That thing called AWOL.
Because they was a part of it.
Yes.
They're a part of it now.
Yes.
They're a part of it now. So what we got to do is to make sure, Rob, and more than anything now, that they putting this thing into place, and that we got to make sure that we know how to inform the community about it and get these benefits.
That's very important, because I've been working lately. I got a 93-year-old World War II vet and a couple of others, and working with their daughters or family members and helping them to understand the benefits and whatnot. They have been so frustrated over the years by getting shot down, not understanding the language and whatever else. And now that I'm working with them, I've taken some of the pressure off, and they've learned to trust me. And now they'll give me the information, and they'll be very candid and give me everything I need to help that veteran. I had one veteran, he and his wife, he was like 80, 85 years old. He and his wife came by my house, and he said, Coleman, I gotta come and tell you something. So when he got there, they came in and sat down, we started talking, and I was working with him because he had gotten hearing aids about 9 years ago. And they had turned him down for hearing loss and said it wasn't service connected. I was able to show, he was in those silos out there in the Midwest, man, with the underground stuff. And I was able to show with those signals coming in through those headphones, the wee-oo, and all that kind of stuff, that I could use those kind of things to show connection between the military and the hearing loss.
The nexus.
Yeah, the nexus, which means a connection. And so he came by to tell me how much he wanted to thank me, because he finally got the disability for his hearing loss. They gave him 100% disability for hearing loss, and had to go back retroactive 9 years. Okay? And so many family members are frustrated, and they don't understand what this VA stuff means, the language and whatever else. But you need to talk to a representative, a veterans advocate, American Legion, DAV, VFW, Military Order, Purple Heart, these organizations, and or get in touch with Elson or get in touch with me, and we'll assist you with direction, how to go about it, and to take some of the pressure off of you. Now, one of a couple of things that I use quite a bit here lately, because our age at this point, veterans that are unable to maybe take care of themselves at home and need to go into a nursing home or assisted living, or they want to stay there at the house. There's a program called Aid and Attendance. Aid and Attendance will pay that veteran at least $2,200 each month to offset the cost of having somebody to come in. You know, you can take that money and break it down, have somebody to come in for a few hours in the morning to feed you, to give you your medicine, to bathe you, make sure, and then have them come back in the evening. Or in some cases, you want to put that veteran into a nursing home or assisted living, but they just got a little pension, a little Social Security, and the nursing home says, well, you don't not bringing in enough to come into our facility because we're a real nice facility. Well, that $2,000 now bumps up that income and will assist that veteran in going into the nursing home or to assisted living or to stay at home. And it's called Aid and Attendance.
And then there's one that get a little bit before the Aid and Attendance that comes with the 70% disability. It's called Caregiver.
Yeah.
The Caregivers program. Now, it's so many benefits there. And Rock, what you was pointing out, what the PAC Act is actually doing is trying to level the playing field from World War II all the way up to today.
Right.
And
Right.
it don't just deal with locations, it deal with different kinds of exposures that veterans have experienced on these military bases. Some of it was radiation, some of it was asbestos.
Yeah.
What we need you to do is, if you had a loved one that has an illness that served in the U.S. military, I don't care if he didn't leave the country, we want to know what base he was on. Because if he was at Augusta, Georgia, he was exposed. If he was in Alabama, he was exposed. That's what the PAC Act did. It expanded all of these locations, and it expanded the kind of conditions that the veterans served up under that might have caused their ailments.
They're admitting now
They're admitting it.
that they sprayed Agent Orange at some of these military bases in the United States.
And radiation, the use of radiation at some of these bases are causing problems. They are admitting it, they're putting it into the law, and they're making it presumptive if you was at some of these locations. So we want you to look at all of the ailments. Now I tell you what you can do. You can go on the VA website right now and look at the availability of all of these locations, local lists of overseas and the United States. And you can also look at the conditions, a lot of the conditions that are listed, and they are not just from Agent Orange. They are from the burn pits, radiation, and asbestos, and a lot of other chemicals that they are admitting right now. And over the years, during my experience with this, I've learned that they got over 200 military bases contaminated in this country.
All we know about right now is Camp Lejeune.
Camp Lejeune.
And that was Marine.
Yeah, the Marine, but you know, Anderson, what was that base in Alabama they closed?
McClellan.
McClellan.
They closed it because it was contaminated. Fort Gillum, right here,
in Atlanta.
was contaminated.
They're having to tell the truth now.
Yeah, if they're going to tell the truth about all these locations. They got 129 on this new PAC Act. What we need for people that got veterans that have served and are sick, they look into why they're sick. We got to get out of this thing where they tell you historically, well, that's hereditary. You know, I thought hypertension was hereditary. I got it, and everybody in my family got it, so I just thought it was hereditary. But I learned that mine came from the exposure to Agent Orange. And when I told them that, they didn't hesitate to do it because of where I did my service at in Vietnam. But now they're admitting that they didn't have to go to Vietnam to be exposed to the same hazardous chemicals that I was being exposed to, because they're saying now, okay, it was made in the United States. It didn't just jump up by itself and go to Vietnam. People had to handle this stuff.
Right.
People had to test it.
Dow Chemical and
all of these folks.
Yeah.
So we hope today's show will wake up our community, because that's what I was hoping to do. That's why I asked Rock to come on, because I know the people that he know, and we're going to get people that we know to tell people that we know. Let's look into this, because these are not handouts. See, a lot of people think that these are handouts, but this is overdue benefits. Overdue. A lot of the people, I can name people right now that died, that were going to the VA, didn't never get a check. The family never got a check. Their family could get a check now. You know, we need you to get the benefit that your loved one earned for the betterment of the family and your community.
And if you tried in the past to stand up for your deceased relative or a relative that is incompetent, and you got shot down by the VA or the people that you talked to, very easy could have been because you didn't know the right thing to say or the right thing to do. And so it's frustrating, and that's what it's designed for. But that's what we're here for. And don't hesitate. You never know. You got to ask the questions. Well, my relative had this, and he died from that or died from this. You don't know. But the VA is going to look at the death certificate. They're going to look at where they were, what they did, and these are the kind of things that we can assist you with.
And I want to say this unto you too. Let me say, Brock, you just made some something that I need to build on. If the death certificate says they died from a heart condition, a cardiac issue, but they didn't have that as a service-connected issue, but they had PTSD or a mental disorder. We got doctors right now that'll show you that every mental disorder that a patient has causes heart conditions. And most mental patients that go to the doctor got a record of some kind of heart condition in their record, even if they hadn't service connected. Now, what I've done in the last 3 cases that I had for DICs, I got a doctor to posthumously diagnose that the heart condition secondary to the mental condition, and they got their benefits. So you need to talk with Rock. You need to talk with a VSO. Don't let the people say no to you, and you accept it, because that's what they've been doing all along. They've been saying no to us, and we just go away and we don't think about it no more because we got to deal with what we're dealing with. But today, they are expanding the PAC Act. And what that means that these ailments will become presumptive. All you got to do is show that you was at the location at the time that they're telling you that they sprayed this stuff or this stuff was there. And you need to make sure that you're dealing with somebody that know how to reopen a claim up under the new system. You know, they started the new system a few years ago. Now, anytime you got a claim that's been closed out, you know, it's been closed, you done filed it for years and gone by, you can reopen it with new and material evidence or show that they made a clear and unmistakable error in the decision. And you do that with a supplementary review claim, which is, I think that's 200995. You know, you go put it up on the website and you fill it out and you send it to the VA, and that starts your claim over. Now, the first thing they usually do when you file a claim, especially up under the presumption, they're gonna send you to an exam, medical exam.
It'll be outside exam most cases.
All the time now. Trump privatized it. He privatized the whole system. So if you miss the exam, they still gonna get paid, but you're gonna get your claim gonna be denied. So don't miss the exam. Don't miss the exam. If they call you on your phone and they start telling you, because sometimes they'll call you before they give you the paperwork. Write the address down, the time down, the place down, so you won't miss that exam. Because you miss the exam, it's an automatic denial of your claim. That's something we had to deal with. You know, that's just part of the system right now that we got to deal with. But it takes people like us that know, that been experienced with dealing with this claim process, not to get so agitated with it that we don't follow the yellow brick road. To get these claims, the benefits to
and give you a little insight, touch bases with us to get a little insight of what to expect when you go to these QTC evaluations, these outside evaluations.
We can help you do better.
Yeah, give you a little coaching, you know, what to expect and maybe what you need to say and how you need to say it, those kind of things.
Yeah, and especially making sure that you provide these doctors with evidence that they might not be asking you during that exam. You know, point it out to your record. You know, tell them I was this, I was there, I had this going on, so that they will have to go into that medical records to make sure that they're giving you the best evaluation possible. Because now listen to this: if you get one doctor to say that's for you and another doctor to say that's no, you get the benefit of the doubt. They got a law that called the benefit of the doubt. That means the veteran get the benefit of the doubt, but you got to have 2 doctors with different opinions. This is Veterans Talk. We've been here, and I think we had a day. Rock, you plan to come back, brother?
I'd definitely be back.
We're gonna do some canvassing in the community and try to get the word out so we can get these people some help. But we got to come back, because I think giving out this kind of information is going to help more than we realize, because a lot of people just ain't getting it. They're not getting the information, and they're hearing about it, but then they, the person ain't really in depth in explaining what's taking place with this new expansion. They don't have a clue that the expansion meaning they're saying now, if you was at one of these places and you got one of these conditions, we're presuming it to be service connected.
Exactly.
We're gonna presume it to be service connected. That means that you're gonna get a benefit.
Yeah. This is one of those situations where the way you were explaining it, in the past, you may have been denied, not knowing. And so it's time for you to revisit any claim that you made in the past.
It's time for you to revisit.
Because the situations and all of that has changed, and now you're going to be looked at probably not as detailed as you thought you were. And, because of presumption. You have an existing condition now that you're dealing with that you, or possibly the evaluator, was not aware was part of your health challenge. And now they say that particular health condition can be service connected.
And the reality of it is that some of these things are just coming about, Tony. Like
right.
And that's why you need to revisit your claim, because even though you was arguing this and you knew this, it was not recognized by DOD or VA. Now that it's recognized by DOD and VA, you might not be able to get all that back pay, but you're gonna get the benefit.
Yeah.
See, and you got to understand that you might not be able to get all the back pay because it's a lot of back pay due if they get it right. And they ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna do it right.
That happened with this heart condition, ischemic heart disease. Like I said, ischemic heart disease covers a whole lot of different things. Like I said, irregular heartbeat, pacemaker, defibrillator, irregular heartbeat. But people filed for it for many years going back, but they were denied. And then in 2011, George Bush, I think the Daddy Bush, signed it into law in November of 2011. So now, you may have been turned down in 2010, and then you just give up and you don't know about it. And now here it is, all this time later, you find out. Wait a minute, you can go back and file. You might not be able to go back to the date that you filed. Well, you can't go back before 2011 because it didn't exist. But any time after that, depending on when you file for it, you should. It's a presumption, so it's presumed it came from your military experience, and you should be able to get that disability for it.
Absolutely, and that we can't overemphasize the fact that things have changed. So go revisit your claim.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Even those, especially those guys that never left the country, I got a list of all the bases right now, all the military bases in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, all of them in Florida got a bunch of them because they were Air Force bases. See, a lot of these are Eglin Air Force Base. Some of them guys never left the country. Some of these guys never left the country. They was at these bases and they got sick. And they just got sick. They got sick, you ain't got no condition.
Well, not just got sick, but you were exposed, but you didn't know that you were exposed.
Didn't know you was exposed.
Because there's a lot of, particularly Air Force bases, it's a lot of stuff being shipped through, and people were exposed to it, but never knew that they were exposed to those conditions. Now, by saying I was at that base, there's a possibility that I was exposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
The PAC Act.
Yes.
That's the PAC Act right now is the new and material evidence that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
We are at the end of the show. We want you to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and share the program with your friends and your neighbors, because we are here trying to do the same thing. We are trying to get information to the community. Thank you, Rob, for coming, bro.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
Always.
So Tony closes out.
So, and you all have opened my eyes, and so now I'm going to go back and look.
Go back and look.
Go back and look.
Revisit.
I'm a perfect example of those veterans who never thought that I was never in a position to maybe get benefits.
Look at your location.
Yes.
See, they don't open up the location. And that's critical because you had more people serve in the United States than you did in
Yes,
Vietnam.
yes.
Right.
A bunch of us were in, but we never left the country.
Never left the country.
Yes.
You had one base, and that base might have been contaminated.
Exactly.
And as Tony said, they had to ship it. They had to ship it to Vietnam.
They had to ship to Vietnam. So this has
From
been
the States.
This has been a great day, fellas. And I want to thank God for this opportunity to get this information out, because we've been praying for this stuff to come up like this, and all of a sudden it's coming up. Now we got to make sure that the community get it,
Yes.
because sometimes, we got a threat on this democracy. All of this stuff won't be happening up under.
Yes.
We got
And people need to recognize also this week, Trump has talked about veterans like a dog. So think about that when you go to the polls.
Exactly.
and the people that support him.
Now, if he's saying that now,
Yeah,
if
what
he
he-
were to get in there,
That's what he gonna do.
it's going to be
Yeah,
rough on veterans.
Yeah.
That's what he gonna do, because a lot of people feel like these benefits, we don't need them.
All right.
They're fighting not to give us to us. They don't. A lot of people in Congress don't like this. This
Yeah.
didn't come easy, but it came up under this administration, and we need it, and it's timely, and we just want to make sure the community get the information, and we're gonna help them get the benefits. So, thank you for this day, and Tony closes out.
See, so same time next week, Saturday, 4 to 5 o'clock on Signal TV. We'll be here talking about veterans, anything dealing with veterans. So see you next week, 4 to 5 o'clock, right here on Signal TV.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.